It's almost midnight, and I can't really sleep right now, so fuck it, we'll just pump out a quick video. Why not? This video is on Black Gryph0n. This was a story I followed here and there. I really wanted Papa Gut to cover it very badly, because I was very curious about it. But I guess he never did, and it just kind of died down. Kind of just forgot about it. It came out. Pretty much, I'll give like a basis of the allegations. I'm sure this person is going to go into it more, but the basis of the allegations is that Black Gryph0n was accused of grooming. He's a popular YouTuber. He's worked closely with The Living Tombstone and all these other YouTubers. I think he knew the voice actor of Sweetie Belle from My Little Pony. That was the person he was dating. He was 25 years old while they were 16 years old. And obviously that's very inappropriate. That's very fucked up and could potentially be predatory. And apparently he knew this person since they were 14, but didn't actually start dating until she was 16. So my thoughts is that it's fucked up. It's definitely very, very inappropriate. And it definitely could be predatory. But I do think we need to have a little bit more of a nuanced conversation. I know this is going to be a very uncomfortable conversation for many people, but we do have to have it when we talk about these things. Unfortunately, specifically in the United States of America, not every age of consent in America is 18, unfortunately. And I do think we need to change that. I do think we need to increase it to 18, with an exception to people who are like close in age, so like 19 and 17 or 20 and 17 can't get prosecuted. I'd say 2 to 3 years maximum there. But, like, yeah, we need to increase the age of consent. And unfortunately, like, most of the states in America is 16, it's unfortunate. Because, like, it's very outdated. America is very slow when it comes to passing new laws on a lot of this stuff. I sure as hell don't have any hope of it increasing anytime soon with our current administration in office. It's very likely that Black Gryph0n grew up during a time where, unfortunately, some people, and this is the unfortunate reality, is back in the day, some people saw, like, 15 and 16 as, like, old enough. Oh, they're mature enough, they're old enough to do stuff. You know, it's very outdated thinking. We've far moved past that as a society. And quite frankly, I think we've moved past 18 as well, being, like, something that is old enough. I think we should increase it even further past 18 is what I'm saying. But, I mean, enough jibber-jabbering. Let's just get into the video. Did Black Gryph0n clear the allegations? This is the most recent video I could find on the subject. It was 4 weeks old, so let's just get this going.
Alright everyone, we've kind of been on a streak recently of defending YouTubers who have been falsely accused of things. From Saber to Corey to Skeppy and...
I didn't tune into the Skeppy allegations. The fucking Corey X Kenshin allegations were so stupid. It was unbelievable. I crashed out at those. The Saber Spark allegations were very sad because his career has massively suffered from it even though they were false. It's upsetting.
Today is no exception. Some of you might remember I made a video in the past on Black Gryph0n and the
He met his wife at 14. That is exactly what I brought up earlier, yep.
Allegations surrounding him. During the course of that video, I went over all the allegations and the proof backing them up, and while I never made any definitive statements, I definitely leaned to one side when going through those accusations. You may also remember that the main person who was leading these accusations was the Brony Fandone Twitter account, who...
Oh, yeah, they also led the Saber Spark allegations as well, and I'm pretty sure that this Brony Fandone account is, they don't even have any, like, credibility whatsoever. They got massively shat on, I'm pretty sure.
As we've discovered, is completely psychotic. Well, recently a lot of new information has come
I don't know everything about them. I know that they fucking extensively lied throughout the Saber Spark allegations. That much I know about.
About Black Gryph0n, including some interviews and other information that basically clears him of mostly everything.
Really? Interesting. Okay.
A YouTuber by the name of Lazy Bedhead made a 3-hour-long video all about both Black Gryph0n and also mostly about Bonk. And obviously, I stand on the side of truth, so for the purpose of today's video, we're going to be reviewing everything up to date in regards to the Black Gryph0n drama and, you know, just clear up everything. But before we do that, make sure to subscribe so that I can feed my starving family. So as I said...
Damn, your family's starving? That's fucked up.
We're going to go over Lazy's video and mostly...
I was about to make a joke there, and then I realized that joke is way too fucked up, so I paused for a moment, then I was like, yeah, no way, I can't make that joke. No, I would get this video taken down.
Commenting on both the Black Gryph0n and Brony Fandone stuff, providing commentary when needed. Obviously, I cannot cover the whole thing, mostly because it's 3 hours long, but also because some of the stuff is stuff I covered before, so I'll be linking to it down below. With that, let's begin.
I mean, you're talking about, like, really serious shit. You kind of gotta be acting better than this.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, when we cover allegations online specifically, unfortunately, allegations online, if you would take every person on Twitter that talks about allegations, and like whether it's like sexual assault, grooming, and all these other things, you would realize you're listening to a bunch of young people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about whatsoever. Like, literally, the online narrative is ran by babies. It's, like, ran by fucking 14-year-old children who, like, haven't experienced life yet. And, unfortunately, you have a lot of adults who see this stuff and will play into it because they don't want to get canceled, or they'll build their platform off of it. It's very pathetic. It's unfortunate that we don't have a lot of pushback against a lot of these narratives. And so, unfortunately, when you have, like, a fucking 16-year-old kid being like, I can't believe that you said 19 and 17 isn't fucking rape. You're a fucking horrific person who supports pedophilia. Yeah, it's, like, it's just like, dude, chill out, all right? We don't need to morally load the conversation. We just need to, like, the way I view it is, put it in the real world. Would people get upset at this situation in the real world? And in Black Gryph0n's case, yes, they would. 100%. A 25-year-old, there's no reason a 25-year-old should be dating a 16-year-old. That's very gross. It's very disgusting. But we have to understand that from a real-world perspective, unfortunately, legally speaking, society is not going to shut him away from it legally because a lot of our age of consent laws are just very outdated. And we need to, like I said, I do agree that we do need to increase those. With the exceptions, of course.
One of my main points with the Brony Fandone account as well, obviously when making like my Black Gryph0n video, they hadn't gone off the rails and completely exposed themselves as insane. At the time, they seemed normal, but after KP's video, they really showed how unreliable they are, and it made all their points against Black Gryph0n and everyone else fall flat.
I gave a lot of slack.
Yeah, it's crazy how accusers literally get, like, I don't know. People talk about power dynamics all the time online, but no one ever talks about the power dynamic of some fucking nobody on the internet that just comes forward with allegations, claiming some really serious things, and they can get that person's entire career ruined. Doesn't matter how proportionate the allegations are, doesn't matter if there's like lies in some of the allegations, doesn't matter if there's holes in the story. You could just come forward with a story, and a lot of people on Twitter will just immediately take it at face value, and they'll immediately start attacking and harassing people and like try to get this person deplatformed regardless of whatever validity the allegations are at. It's fucking crazy. Like, people just don't understand the concept of due process anymore.
To the claims with Michelle, because I just didn't think they made a lot of sense for her to have also been groomed, because like if that were the case, wouldn't she have gotten married to Gabe? Now it has been speculated for a decade, given that Gabe was 22 and Michelle was 13 at the oldest, that this was a grooming relationship.
Now as point,
yeah, it definitely could be. That's very predatory if that's when they met, but I'm pretty sure that the original allegation was that Black Gryph0n met her while she was 14. And he would have been, it's a 9-year age gap, so I believe he would have been like 23 at the time, which is very gross. That is predatory if they started dating then, but like I don't think he started dating her until she was 16, which is still very gross, and that still could be predatory. But again, we do need to have like more nuanced conversations when we're talking about this stuff, because I don't want to just sound like some random kid on Twitter that gives their input on like important social conversations when they don't understand what the fuck they're talking about.
Out, a lot of people claim Michelle was groomed alongside Claire. Lazy says this isn't true, and I don't think I ever claimed that either. But there is one legit point that I bring up every time I talk about it, and that's the comment thread on Gabe's old video with Michelle. The one where he says he could potentially get married to her and that the Canadian age of consent is 16. No matter what side of the drama you're on...
Yeah, I mean, that's very gross. Okay, so they're in Canada. It wasn't even the US. I was talking about the US because that's where I live, and, like, again... But the fact that in Canada it's 16 as well, that's also very gross. The entire world really needs to get up to speed with that law. I think so. Like, we really need to, like, push it up and, like, increase it, because it's very, it's just gross. Like, no one wants to see a 25-year-old, like, fuck a 16-year-old. That's very gross.
This is still incredibly fucking weird. Obviously, like I said, I don't think he's, like, a bad guy anymore, but, like, this is still something I've never seen brought up. I alluded to it earlier, but a bit after my video on Black Gryph0n, both Michelle and Claire went on multiple interviews to disprove the grooming allegations. This is one of the biggest debunkings when it came to the allegations, and to a lot of people, myself included, it kind of shot the allegations dead in the water.
I just think, morally, it's just kind of odd. I also don't think it's normal for industry moguls to house a random internet musician to live with them and their 13-year-old child. I don't think it's...
That is very strange. That is a massive failure to whatever... Hold on. I didn't catch the industry, so one more time.
Odd. I also don't think it's normal for industry moguls to house a random internet musician to...
Who's industry moguls? Hold on. Oh, they're talking about literal industry moguls. Apparently that's like a term that people use to describe like people and like things within the industry. Okay, got it. I just looked it up. All right, I thought that was like a content creator. I don't think I've ever heard someone use that term, surprisingly. You'd think I would. I guess not.
To live with them and their 13-year-old child.
No, yeah, I agree. That's very, very... That's a huge failure, like, with... is it their 13-year-old child? Because the way that this person worded it, they made it sound like it was their own daughter. And that's a huge failure of the parents, if that's true. Like, there's no way... If I was the father of my daughter, there's no way I would let, like, a fucking 23-year-old man live with my 13-year-old daughter. Like, that's very fucking strange.
I don't think it's normal to call a fan of your music baby, honey, or bablet on DeviantArt when they're a minor. I think all of that is just really fucking weird. And
it is. And listen, if we look at these messages, all right, they're in 2010, and unfortunately, like, yes, this would be predatory if anything, like, actually happened, if there was, like, any sexual exploitation. Could these have been grooming tactics? Absolutely. Hey baby, yeah, it was kind of, it's been a while, things have getting hectic around my band, yada yada yada. Okay, so this is just like normal, how's school, having fun already? Listen, on its own, this was in 2010, you could if you wanted to be like very charitable to Black Gryph0n, you could say that the internet didn't really navigate boundaries as much back in 2010 as they do now here in 2025. It's still very weird, for sure. Like, looking back at it, you could definitely cringe at it, but I don't think on its own this would be, like, a sign that he was trying to groom her necessarily. It could have been that, but we would need to see more. It's just very weird. That's what it comes down to.
DeviantArt when they're a minor. I think all of that is just really fucking weird. And if that was Brony Fandone's argument, I don't think a lot of people would, like, necessarily disagree.
This is exactly what I said. They kind of completely blew up their own argument when they went off the rails. If they had just pointed out legit concerning things, then it would have been fine, but obviously they didn't. If there was a legit...
It seems like this Brony Fandone person was very focused on the clout they could earn from making accusations, because unfortunately there is a massive incentive to come forward with a story on the internet and have a bunch of publicity from it, because whenever you make an accusation on a big content creator, it's going to get a lot of attention, and you're going to get a lot of publicity from it. And unfortunately, like, it's just very cool to be a victim online. So a lot of people... like Katie Bugs is a good example of this. Katie Bugs came forward about the George Not Found stuff. She tried to spin a story about how she was fucking tickled into a sexual assault story, which is just absolutely false and an insult to people who have been through sexual assault as a whole. So it's it's just gross that people do shit like that. And it really muddies the waters, because it's like all it takes is just 2 or 3 false accusations to completely blackpill you on every allegation that comes forward online. And, like, most people will just disregard allegations. It makes it a lot more difficult for people who actually want to speak out against really terrible people. There are probably some really terrible content creators out there who have immense skeletons in their closet, but it wouldn't make sense to come forward. Some people would be like, oh, I probably shouldn't come forward with this because I'm just going to get accused of being false. It makes it difficult for those people in particular. All it takes is 2 or 3 false accusations for people to be blackpilled on it.
Argument when it came to these allegations, then Brony Fandone's unhinged behavior made sure there wouldn't be an argument anymore. But with that, why don't we talk about the people themselves?
The only point that this document brings up that I do somewhat agree with. Brony Fandone, or Doink as he is asked to be called, has made some very concerning posts using the Brony Fandone account.
Let me see this.
To be called, has made some very concerning...
MLP Game Brony. This was a 2012 tweet. That's crazy talk. Age is just a number, Jimmy. I'm sure that's not why. Hugs. Yeah, weird thing to say, for sure, but this is a 2012 tweet, so who knows what the context is behind it. People, listen, the internet was a fucking weird place back then, and I can say this because I think this was around the time when I was in elementary school. I think I was just getting into middle school. This was, like, literally just when I was transitioning to 6th grade, because I recognize 2012 as a year. But, like, the internet was such a fucking weird place back in the day. Like, people said all sorts of crazy edgy shit. Even before this was like Modern Warfare Xbox Live lobbies. People were edgy. Like, things were very crazy on the internet back then. People didn't understand boundaries as much. Some of it is edgy jokes. Some of it could be legitimately weird. We've gotten better as we've established more boundaries online, but, like, this is an old tweet, so I'm not really so sure I want to use this against Brony Fandone as much of a fucking loser as this person seems to be throughout this story. I don't really care as much.
Post using the Brony Fandone account. Aside from defending other Twitter users of drawing sexualized pony characters,
you will take anything I say in the worst possible light. If no one is hurt, I don't care. I will not fight for any specific porn to exist. Oh, that's very weird out of context. Do we know when this tweet was? Why is the date cut out? But an image cannot be hurt. I care when there is someone in... I assume that says trouble. The person is blocking the way. I mean, I don't know. Someone could take this out of context and read between the lines and say, oh, they're defending lolly porn. Like, literally, that's what this could sound like. If no one is hurt, I don't care. Technically, not a real child is being made in that pornography of lolly porn, so it's okay, right? Like, it's still not material you should be championing. So out of context, this looks bad, but I would like to know what it means in context and what they're arguing for.
And claiming that it's fine because they're not real children that exist, sexualized pony characters, and claiming that it's...
I don't think Wootmaster is a child predator until proven otherwise. Oh, okay, so this was a recent tweet. This was in 2024. Oh, okay, so this was not long ago at all. Okay, got it. But the fact that many people in this fandom who think fictional pornography of minors is literal child porn aren't calling it out is weird. Yeah, I mean, it's a lolicon, right? That's basically lolicon. No, it doesn't, because it's not literally child porn at all. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. That's a very weird thing to defend. So are they... Is this Vosh's alt account, maybe? It could be Vosh's alt account. It's horse porn and it's lolly porn. It's the best of both of his worlds.
Fine because they're not real children that exist.
Alright, so this isn't even like a new thing, I guess. This account has just always been completely unhinged. Like, I don't know a lot about My Little Pony. I get laid. I don't know why I would. But why are people...
If you say so.
People in that community headcanoning characters as pals, man? It's a fucking kids show.
Bonk justifies their...
What was that point?
I get completely unhinged. But why are people in that community headcanoning characters as pals, man? It's a fucking kids show.
Bonk
That is strange, yeah.
Justifies their online roleplay of this weird relationship by saying that age is just a number, hence the full context of what that
age is just a number. This is Jimmy he was talking to, by the way. Jimmy Game Brody Goggins, the youngest and most adventurous sword sculpt in Equestria. His past is shrouded in mystery. Interesting.
Tweet was about. This isn't the only odd thing in Bonk's back catalog, as he has commissioned not safe for work artwork of his fursona with Noelle, an underage Deltarune character.
With Noelle. Oh. Jesus Christ. This was recent, too. What the fuck? This person is unhinged. Nah, that's crazy. There's no way they can virtue signal about the Black Gryph0n allegations when they engage in lewd behavior like this. That's fucking insane. Wow, that's crazy. This person, that pretty much tells me that this person was coming forward for clout. Because they don't seem to actually care about the safety of children if they're engaging in behavior like this. So why would they think any different with the Black Gryph0n allegations? The reason why is because there was clout in it. And again, there's a huge incentive for clout to come forward with allegations in that regard.
Wow, okay, so they really do just suck. I mean, shit. I can see it says this happened 13 years ago, but as we'll see later, it doesn't really matter because they have a lot of these stances in modern day too.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter because a lot of the tweets were recent, yeah.
You can't go on the whole Hunter arc after like doing shit like this and still holding that stances in modern day. That's disgusting.
However, what Bonk wants to do is not only inflate these moral issues in terms of like a legal matter, but now they want to fight with Claire and Michelle when they don't identify as victims. Bonk even goes as far as to call them just as awful as Gabe, and I don't see how that helps anyone.
See, this is exactly why I dropped the claim when Claire did that interview. I'm not going to argue someone's a victim when they themselves don't want to be.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a very important thing to do. That's actually the right thing to do, is you do not want to make someone a victim or victimize someone when they clearly are not a victim. Or not even, sorry, that's a bit of a crass way to say it. Let me rephrase that. You don't want to victimize someone when they think and they like are very adamant on the fact that they're not a victim. That's why I have recently had a stance on coming forward with allegations on the internet specifically, as opposed to going to the police if you think something legitimately terrible happened. Because when you come forward on the internet, you are prone to getting all sorts of different opinions online. That's a very easy way to open yourself up, and especially coming forward when you're in a vulnerable state. When you're vulnerable, you are going to be a lot more sensitive to emotions, and that's why when you see a therapist, they are very careful to sit you where you are and not to overvalidate your feelings or undervalidate your feelings, because undervalidating makes therapy therapy feel shitty. But if they overvalidate your feelings, what winds up happening is that could be an additional trauma. If they're like, oh my god, you were fucking sexually assaulted. This horrible thing happened to you. That can be an additional trauma that people go through. And so you want to be careful not to do that, and like be sure to the same logic can apply in the online atmosphere, is what I'm trying to get at, is when you come forward with a story and people are like, you're a victim. That's why in the Ava Chris Tyson situation, for example, that Lava GS person who wasn't groomed, and I agree, they were not a victim of grooming, and they kept being adamant on the fact that they were not a victim of grooming. They kept saying that, but then people in the replies were like, bro, you're a victim, bro. Oh my god, you're a victim. People are very carelessly doing that. And it's just like, I don't think that's very productive. And also, you could technically give Lava an additional trauma that he otherwise would not have had, because you're trying to make it seem worse than it actually is. And that's like something we need to be very cognizant of.
If Bonk does make a point that I do agree with, like an age gap relationship where one of the parties was underage when they first met, is really weird and uncomfortable. I can't disagree with that. The logistics of that relationship,
it depends, really,
will always be up for question and speculation inherently because of how Gabe and Claire met. But even if
sure, yeah, that I can agree with. Specifically with Black Gryph0n, yeah, I can agree with that.
Makes a good point. He is so defensive and will fight tooth and nail with everyone. He doesn't pick his battles wisely. He just wants to fight just to fight.
And we saw this with Saberspark after that whole fiasco.
This is what happens when you speak out against rapists. You win, everyone. I'll shut up. I'll never do it again. Gryph0n would be fine if I didn't help. And that's because no one else fucking tried enough. And you'll make sure that no one ever does again. Saberspark raped a girl, and you all overjoyed to rip my throat out for him. You defeated me. Congratulations. Lesson learned. There is no good in this world. People would do everything they could to destroy it if there was. This is such a huge fucking victim complex, because I don't know if anyone tuned into the Saberspark situation, but Saberspark in his response video did a very good job of completely just debunking the allegations against him, and I felt super bad for him. It was very reckless to do this shit, like to like come forward with this allegation, and instead of taking responsibility for the fact that you made a false allegation, you're now just having this insane victim complex on Twitter of all places, and it's very childish to do something like this.
All the Brony Fandone accounts.
I'm curious to know how old this Brony Fandone person is. I imagine they're not super young because they've had their Twitter account since 2012.
Did was double down and call that dude a racist over like legitimately nothing. They physically do not have the ability to just concede on anything or just take the L. This is someone who thinks they're smarter than anyone, therefore they have to be right in every instance of drama they get in. Listen, man, sometimes you win some, you lose some.
Bonk essentially uses the justification of their drawings. There's not a crime actually happening because they're fictional characters, and you can't victimize a cartoon character.
Yeah, so that is like essentially justifying lolicon. Even if they weren't talking about lolicon in that context, it's still lolicon logic, and that's still very gross.
Are you a pal hunter and like completely fine with lolly? Like, I understand.
Oh, so it is lolly. Got it. Okay.
Time for some of this shit, but as Lazy points,
I didn't think it was. I thought it was drawn kids of, or I guess the ponies that were like, I guess underaged, we'll say at the time. Still very, very gross either way, but still, I just had a different interpretation of it. Still very gross either way.
They still stand by some of this today. So like, what's the excuse then? This has to be some type of like gene that they inherited. Like there has to be some type of thing that makes it so they physically cannot accept a loss.
Somebody handed me the character sheet for Bonk's character, and it turns out Bonk has something of a rape fetish.
That's somehow not surprising. Why does everyone in the art community have a fucking rape fetish? Like, that's just something I've noticed a lot in the art community specifically. A lot of people seem to have that. In the real world, that would be called consent, non-consent. That is a legitimate kink that people do have. But it seems to be so rampant in the art community for some reason. Like, what is with people expressing that sort of material?
I mean, I don't even know what to say to that one. I think it just kind of speaks for itself.
One of the biggest red flags about Bonk is their friendship and frequent defense of Wootmaster. For those who are unaware, Wootmaster is a My Little Pony artist who likes to draw not safe for work pony and furry characters.
Okay.
However, many of his subjects of interest are usually not within the age range where that would be appropriate.
Oh, okay. So does he do like Sweetie Belle, or what is it? Is it Scootaloo, that one character? Listen, I used to be a brony back in middle school. It was a weird phase in my life, okay? Shut up. It was a weird phase in my life. Yeah, once upon a time I was a brony. At one point in my life I was. I think it was like Scootaloo or Sweetie Belle. I think that was one of the characters off the top of my head.
For example, Smolder from My Little Pony and Spike are usually depicted as younger characters.
Interesting.
Yet Wootmaster has drawn both and retweeted porn of these younger characters.
So is this person like the Shadman of this community? I guess Shadman's technically worse because he drew legitimately real life people, real life kids in the form of porn. So I guess Shadman's technically worse. It's still very bad either way, but there's levels of bad.
So at what point do we just call everything projection? I'm sorry, man, but at a certain point, yeah. I just gotta say you're projecting everything wrong with you onto every person you're criticizing. There's not really any other defense.
That crosses the line greatly for me. Mm-hmm. If I had any thought that Wootmaster wanted to get with actual children, I would not be talking about Wootmaster. Mm-hmm. In any good sense, at least.
All right, let's just put this into perspective. To make this argument, you have to say this while totally cool with the fact that this person is drawing characters that are underage, specifically for the purpose that people can beat their cocks to it.
Yeah, that's degenerate, obviously. That's very gross. No one wants to see, like, some 35-year-old man beat his meat to a character that's, like, what, 9 years old? That's fucking disgusting.
The difference between this Woot guy...
And I personally am of the belief that that does make someone a pedophile, just to be clear. I know that that word doesn't really mean anything on the internet because people use it for dunking points and they'll call someone they don't like a pedophile on the internet even if they disagree with them. It's very fucking weird that that's just become a buzzword on the internet now. But yeah, I mean, listen, if you like lolly, then you're a pedophile in my book. I don't care. I don't care. Like, it's just the most degenerate thing. Like, how could you be attracted or like lolly and get turned on by lolly and then not be attracted to minors? That is just, it's very strange.
And lolly porn
And I think that is a valid question to ask.
is the characters they draw aren't human, which I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that doesn't make much of a difference.
Smolder the dragon from My Little Pony, when Wootmaster looks at art of them or whatever, I don't think it's necessarily the fact that they are like a minor character that is why he wants to see art of that. I think there's a lot of different variables where...
Do you notice how many hoops this person is jumping through to justify them getting turned on by their own art that they're drawing, their own degenerate lolly art that they're drawing? It's very... should be criminal, to be honest.
And it's uncomfortable for me to...
I'd be okay if they made a law saying that lolicon is banned in America, or banned in countries. I would be okay with that completely.
Talk about too. I don't like...
It might be in some countries, actually. I don't know for sure.
Defending... I don't want a side in the war. I just don't think he's a bad person.
Yeah, guys, I don't want to pick a side between my child porn drawing friend and common decency. Sorry, but I have always condemned lolly throughout my history online, and I'll continue to do so. If you defend it or the people who draw it, you're sick, and that's disgusting. And apparently Bonk is one of those people.
Bonk claims that Gabe provided vocals for a video that sings about having sex with a young pony character. The thumbnail of this video depicts pornography of the Cutie Mark Crusaders that are explicitly...
Oh, yeah, that is the three young ponies. Yeah, that's very gross.
He stated...
I know exactly the characters they're talking about. I hate that I know exactly the characters that they're talking about, by the way. It's like, again, the old fucking My Little Pony addiction in middle school really is paying off for this slop that we're covering. I guess that's not really slop. These are serious allegations levied at Black Gryph0n, which seem to be false because Brony Fandone is a fucking completely unreliable narrator.
In My Little Pony to be foals or fillies, aka young ponies. Now, Bonk did retract this claim, but my question is, how did Bonk find this video? He couldn't find the original one either. That one is 10 years old and only has like 5,000 views. I think the only way he would have been aware that this video existed and was out there on YouTube is because of Bonk's interest in Full-Con.
I mean, I can totally...
Full-Con? What the fuck is Full-Con? I have no idea. Like, I'm not terminally online. I don't know what this is. I have no fucking idea. I tried to look for it online. I couldn't find anything of substance, so I don't know what the fuck Full-Con is.
Totally see this argument. This isn't crazy to say. I'm gonna be honest, I think Bonk looks infinitely worse than Gabe ever did. You may disagree.
Yeah, sure, I agree with that.
But I sure as shit don't.
And I mean, I understand why, but getting into literal arguments with people that you're trying to convince are grooming victims is just not how you get people to self-reflect on their potentially harmful relationships.
Yeah, it's also a it's not a good thing to do. It's also not very productive because you can, like I said earlier, you can add an additional trauma to someone when they otherwise were not traumatized. So you gotta, you gotta be very cognizant of like people who could have potentially had something bad happen to him or them, and you just gotta take that into account when talking to legitimate survivors of things, or not over sensationalize something that may not have been as bad as something that someone may have went through that may not be a survivor.
When I first covered Black Gryph0n and heard of the cease and desist stuff, I kind of laughed because I thought it made Gabe look much worse. Now, after seeing all this and the messages and DMs and how Bonk acts in general, I fully understand why a cease and desist was made. I mean, are you kidding me? This guy is fighting with people and trying to convince them that they're victims by just arguing with them and, like, berating them. This is pathetic. It's kind of crazy to just so adamantly fight with someone and call them a victim when they themselves don't claim to be. I mean, wouldn't you want Claire to not be a victim? Because for her to be a victim, it means that she's been hurt and that Gabe is a disgusting person. Both things...
Yeah, sure.
You wouldn't really be hoping for unless you had, like, a super fucked up bias.
Why focus so much on the people who are asking you to stop labeling them as victims rather than work with those who are willing to go on the record and say that they are victims? Well, it's probably because he can't. Testimony is evidence. It's important evidence.
Yes, it is. Getting a testimony is important. But you have to also, I'm going to add on to that and say that having a testimony doesn't necessarily confirm anything. And I think that's important to make that distinction because there are, again, Brony Fandone is a perfect example of this person, or Bonk, I guess is what they prefer to be called as, whatever. I'm not going to enforce that because they seem to be a very fucking terrible person. But basically, like, you don't want to take everything a testimony may say at face value because you don't know how reliable that story is, right? We've seen false allegation after false allegation after false allegation, you know, with Slazo, Quite, we have fucking Katie Bugs coming forward, falsely accusing people. We had fucking Call Me Carson getting canceled for being a 19-year-old talking to a 17-year-old. There's just been so many fucking false allegations just over and over and over again. And it's really just like one of those things where, yes, testimony is valuable, and having that story on the record is valuable information so that you can get a timeline in your head, potentially. But you also have to take into account if it's valuable information. And even if they are lying, I guess that's still valuable information within itself, because then you know, oh, okay, now I know not to trust this person, and now I know to not take what they have to say at face value. Right? So that it could be valuable information either way. I think it's just important to add on to that.
But it usually gets classified under circumstantial evidence over physical and direct.
So what you don't understand, Lazy, is that to Bonk, when someone makes an accusation, it's basically true.
Yep, and that's obviously problematic.
Like I said, we saw that with Saber. They called Saber a racist because someone anonymously said so. Like, this person legitimately is just mentally unhinged.
And I'm pretty sure Saber Sparks still suffers from these false accusations, even though it got proven false. Like, their career still suffered. A lot of the connections and stuff that they had planned, there was a lot of stuff that they had lined up in plans for their future content, but then those got completely shafted now that the false allegations came forward. It's fucked up, dude. Like I said, people talk about power dynamics all the time on the internet, but no one ever talks about the power dynamic between some fucking nobody coming forward on the internet, talking about a story that may or may not have happened, and then having the career get completely fucking destroyed that you worked so hard to build. No one ever talks about that power dynamic, but people talk about dumb, idiot power dynamic arguments all the time in other aspects.
There's then a huge section about Ian, Claire's dad. My only problem is that a lot of it is just hearsay. Apparently he's abusive, but I haven't really seen much to back that up. There's a bit more to that video and some other segments on stuff like Saber and Kim Possible I skipped over. So if you'd like to check them out, I'll link the video down below. But with that, the video is over. It was pretty good. I would definitely recommend checking it out. So after everything we've heard, let's close the video out. Is Black Gryph0n innocent? Well, his apparent victim is saying he didn't do anything, and like I said during the DA game stuff, I'm not going to make someone out to be a victim if they themselves don't claim to be one. I think even as Lazy pointed out, there are still legit things to...
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing to do, is just because someone may not think they're a victim doesn't necessarily mean they aren't. I'm not saying that. Like, again, sexual assault survivors, this is a very real thing psychologically. There are some sexual assault survivors who go through an assault but don't think anything happened to them that was bad. And it's for all sorts of different reasons, right? They could have been like blackout drunk and then they wouldn't have even known that they were assaulted. Or they could have been like, oh, there's no way he would have done that. There's like all sorts of different nuance and all sorts of different gray areas when we're talking about all these kinds of things. But I think it's important to not make somebody a victim if they're very adamant on not being a victim, right? It's important because then you could traumatize that person and you could give them an additional trauma that they wouldn't have otherwise had, because you don't want to do that to somebody. That's just not the fucking way you handle allegations whatsoever.
Criticize Gabe for when it comes to this whole situation, but that's been entirely thrown out due to how Bonk has acted during this whole situation. So even if Gabe has done anything actually bad, it's basically been disregarded because of them. What I can say is that when I initially...
So like worst case scenario, even if Black Gryph0n wound up being a predator, then he would have gotten away because of the fucking people that were handling these allegations to begin with. It's fucking crazy.
This whole thing, I was unaware of the psychotic nature of the Brony Fandone account. Now knowing about them, a lot of the claims and evidence that I used in my video falls flat. Hell, I mean, I cited them as a source. I said it before and I'll say it again. That Twitter account and anyone who runs it is not to be trusted. I mean, they're completely psychotic. One of them almost streamed their side. These are crazy people.
That's insane.
As for the $1 million question, I don't think Black Gryph0n is a groomer. Even if someone else tried to take over this investigation from Bonk, it's too far gone. So as of right now, Gabe is not a bad guy. Now, though, what I want to look into is Bonk and their hard drive, if you
Yeah, definitely.
Catch my meaning. But with that...
Yeah, I mean, like, my overall thing is that, to answer the question about if Black Gryph0n is or isn't a groomer, probably not, because if you look at the definition of grooming, it's the intention of building a relationship with a child with the intention. Like I said, grooming is intentional behavior to try to exploit that person, usually sexually. That's when you build that relationship specifically. It's a very evil process, and that is another buzzword on the internet that unfortunately not a lot of people understand the real meaning of at all. So in most cases, when someone comes forward with a grooming allegation, it winds up not being grooming whatsoever, 9 times out of 10, which really sucks because you have that 1 out of 10 instance where it actually is a legitimate case of grooming, like Zoe Laverne. But, like, you gotta... It just sucks that these are buzzwords, you know, and these, like, can really ruin people's lives, and it ruined Saber Spark's life. Like, people are probably still think he's, like, a rapist to this day. There's, like, some level of irreparable damage that Saber Spark now has to recover, which really sucks. Again, I still think 25 and 16 is inappropriate if they were dating around that time, but if he knew them before then and then dated at, like, 18 or whatever, I still think that's very fucking weird and immature. But there's, like, all sorts of gray areas that could potentially not make it predatory. And there's just not enough information to know about that situation anyway to begin with, so it's really up in the air, honestly. But I'm definitely leaning towards Black Gryph0n, I guess, not being guilty necessarily. I mean, they did seem like they were trying to justify the relationship prior. There's, like, comments years ago going over his relationship and being like, oh, but 16 is legal, which is very gross. Like, you're 25 years old. Like, that's very gross. Like, come on. Like, you can definitely find someone older than 16 to date. Like, you're 25 years old. Like, come on. You should know better. It's very gross. Like I said earlier, unfortunately, like, not everywhere in the United States has an age of consent that's 18. In some places it's lower, which means, unfortunately, society and the government says that that's acceptable to do, which, again, I do think we need to change, and I feel like that we do need to advocate to change age of consent laws heavily.
I think we're good to end the video. I don't know. Join the Discord server, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe, I guess. It would be pretty cool. Anyway, I don't know. Later.
All right, good shit.